Hello, everyone. Welcome back. We are reading chapter 24 today of Rolling Thunder. We left off the story with Doug and his sister had just dropped off Mad Bear at the bus station, and they are headed back to Dali Gazzori's house. Chapter 24 Peyote Tea Ceremony. When I got back to Dali Gazzori's house, I found Rolling Thunder on the sofa upstairs, puffing on his pipe and looking out at the hills and the bay. Now Rolling Thunder looked his best again. I thought we might have another peyote tea ceremony up here tonight, right out there on the deck like the other night. That went pretty well, and it wouldn't hurt to do it again with some of the same people. Rolling Thunder had conducted a peyote tea ceremony on the night before Mad Bear and Samu arrived. It had been done in the late evening, under the limbs of the oak tree that stretched over the deck. Rolling Thunder had decided to do this for several friends who had helped him over the past weeks. We made telephone calls to invite the people to whom Rolling Thunder wished to make a gift the ceremony. We had spread blankets on the deck and built a small ceremonial fire. Before the ceremony, Rolling Thunder conducted a brief consultation in one of the rooms downstairs. Those who had a particular request had gone down, one at a time, to speak to him. Then we gathered on the deck around the fire, and Rolling Thunder sat across the fire, facing east, as always. After the sacrifice had been made, he poured from an enamel pot the peyote tea Spotted Fawn had prepared. We did not drink the liquid until Rolling Thunder finished his prayer and said something special for all those who had privately requested it downstairs. That had been a special evening, an evening of meditation with many hours of silence. It seemed a splendid idea to do it again. We telephoned those who were to be invited to the second peyote tea ceremony and made ready the wood for the fire. This time we arranged a small brick fireplace on the deck so the fire could be larger and last longer. When evening came, Spotted Fawn began to steep the peyote buttons in the large enamel pot. To Rolling Thunder, peyote was not a drug but a sacred agent, and in our ritual, it was a sort of a healing agent. People were instructed to put a finger in the cup and rub the mildly bitter liquid on any troubled area of the body. As I watched Spotted Fawn, I thought about the Potawatomi and other tribes that regularly performed peyote rites, in which they eat a number of the bitter peyote buttons in elaborate all-night rituals. Rolling Thunder had told us at Council Grove that he was a member of the peyote religion, and since then I had learned from him some appreciation of the rituals. He considered these affairs serious business. It's a purification ceremony, he had said. Like most of our ceremonies, it's not used to get high or for foolishness. It's used in a way that we want to cleanse our systems and our minds, so we can put ourselves on a higher plane of life. Rolling Thunder, like the Potawatomi, and perhaps all traditional natives, considered the use of peyote for spacing out or getting stoned a gross misuse of the agent and a misuse of the mind. Both the agent and the mind are sacred. In Rolling Thunder's view, the meaningful use of drugs requires a state of mind that can be acquired only through practice and purification, and a great deal of careful preparation. The rituals are conducted by a chief, who directs the meeting in certain ways. Rolling Thunder said he knew that there were a couple of groups of white people now who were using peyote right, but the great majority of them aren't using it right at all, and they might be punished for it. I've seen some results of the punishment, he continued. It's terrible when it kicks back on you. But peyote is good. I've seen it used for many good purposes when it's used right. Spotted Fawn had talked to me once about the peyote rituals in which she had participated, and about the drums that were heard incessantly throughout the entire night. The drums speak. They talk to you and they help you. They keep you there. I remember times I would start to drift away, space out, as they say, and the drums would say, "Pay attention, pay attention, pay attention." This reminded me of the night of the purification ritual at the hot spring in Carlin when Rolling Thunder had conveyed those words to me without speaking. Rolling Thunder, like Swami Rama and perhaps all medicine people, gives first priority to the capacity to control the attention, to maintain one-pointedness of mind. There can be no healing, no meditation, no meaningful spiritual experience without the highest of disciplines. I looked out at the little brick fireplace waiting on the deck and pictured all of us sitting around the ceremonial fire. I hope someday we could have a real peyote ritual with a group under someone like Rolling Thunder. But I wondered how qualified I was for such an event and what further steps of preparation would be necessary. In our earlier ceremony, the weak peyote tea had no real drug-like effect on me. The only effects I felt were produced by the ritual setting, Rolling Thunder's manner, and The only effects I felt were produced by the ritual setting, Rolling Thunder's manner, and the symbolic value of the tea. All the people came and it got late as we waited for the ceremony to begin. Rolling Thunder was downstairs and did not come up. Morningstar went down to see if he wanted to begin. "He looks like he's asleep," she said to her mother. "I never can tell whether he's sleeping or not. If you want to say something to him, you do it." "Well, I guess he doesn't want to be disturbed," said Spotted Fawn. So we continued to wait. Spotted Fawn had to work much to keep the tea warm enough without letting it steep too much. "Rolling Thunder knows we're here," one of the guests assured the group. "I'm positive he didn't fall asleep and forget us." Rolling Thunder finally did come, moving slowly up the stairs, looking half asleep. He gave us a dreamy half-smile and then made himself comfortable on the sofa and lit his pipe. "Everyone's waiting," Spotted Fawn quietly suggested. Rolling Thunder seemed not to hear. He puffed on his pipe and stared through the window into the darkness for a long while. Suddenly he blinked his eyes and looked at Spotted Fawn. "Is everything ready?" "Yes, I told you. We've all been ready and waiting. I've been trying to keep the tea—" "Oh!" he exclaimed with an apologetic chuckle. "Well, let's get started." The ceremonial fire was started again. We had burned much of our wood waiting, so we let the fire go out until Rolling Thunder was ready. Spotted Fawn and Morningstar brought out the tea and the others settled on the blankets. Rolling Thunder placed himself at the fire, arranged his sacrifice before him and lit his pipe. There was silence. We had been silent for a long time, but now the feeling was different. The ceremony was beginning, and the silence was an important part of the ritual. Rolling Thunder knelt over the fire and made the sacrifice. He put several small pieces of fresh meat into the flames, and his words were so soft that I could not hear. He poured tea into the cups, and then, taking one, he stood up. He held it in both his hands in front of his chest and looked down into it for a while. Then he motioned to Morningstar, and she got up and stood beside him. "Pass these out," he said. Morningstar reached for the cup that he was holding. Not yet. He looked at the cup, and then for another moment he began to speak. In the previous ceremony, Rolling Thunder had passed all the cups around without saying anything. Then he had spoken and we had drunk together, slowly and silently, finishing at the same time with a general sense of oneness. But this night, Rolling Thunder picked up the cups one at a time, spoke the name of one of us, and talked about the person as he looked into the cup in his hands. Then he handed each cup to Morningstar to be served. It was kind of like a prayer. Rolling Thunder had much to say about people's plans and motivations, and he made reference to a variety of problems, physical, emotional, and spiritual. I wondered if Samu or Mad Bear or someone had been here, whether he would have said something for Rolling Thunder. Later we moved inside, started a fresh fire in the fireplace, and listened to Dolly's stereo LP record of Uninterrupted Wolf Howls. Rolling Thunder had once said, "Even the hearing of the wolves can be a kind of meditation." Around the fire, we kept our silence. I began to think again about what Rolling Thunder had said in the ceremony and about how he had stayed in his room, seemingly asleep, for hours before. I had not been puzzled or surprised by what he had said for and about me, even though I later realized that he was aware of things no one could have told him. The problems, plans, and purposes he had talked about were things I had never mentioned. He had said things that from a common sort of reasoning he could not have possibly known. But as he spoke, I had not wondered about this. I felt only gratitude. And I feel gratitude for all of you who take the time to listen to each of these chapters. Niawa, my friends. We only have 2 chapters left. It's coming to the end. Adios.